One game, 20 players, 6 or more rounds in which the pain tolerance of each player is tested. One referee that goes from loving best friend to savage, let me drown you in 2.1 seconds. And of course, the $1 million to the one who wins the final round. Welcome to The Odds, the odd movie in which the odds are against you. In this movie, we follow a woman from here on out called The Player on her journey through 6 rounds of a low-budget Fear Factor episode without starring Joe Rogan. We will look at the silly games she agreed to participate in, the countless red flags she willingly overlooks, and the love story that unfolds that is not just odds, but downright disturbing. Yes, in this video we will attempt to straighten out the odds and beat the game in The Odds 2018. This movie does not come with a massive backstory. We got 2 people sitting on one table. The lady to the left is the player, and the dude to the right is the referee or conductor, if you will. We also got 2 suspicious webcams pointing at her, claiming that she's being watched by sick people betting on who will win. Now, it is said that she has willingly joined this game for multiple reasons, one of which is that she is an ex-junkie that has pretty much effed up her life. She is broke, has no work experience, is hated by her own daughter and the rest of her family. Plus, she has pretty much nowhere to go. She's basically the perfect candidate for The Odds, or Squid Game, 13 Reasons Why, Animal World, and all other movies we have covered that you should totally check out. And as luck would have it, she has met someone somewhere. Now, it is not specified who that was at the beginning, but that person has invited her to a game in which she can win $1 million. The rules to the game are the following. The game has 6 rounds, 5 preliminaries and 1 final round. But only one player can win the game, and therefore the final round will repeat as long as necessary to determine one winner. The games may change as well. You can abandon every game at your will and stop playing, but if you make it to the final round, you will be forced to play no matter what. Which is a concerning rule and should make you wonder what will happen if you refuse to play in the finale. There are 20 players playing the same games at the very same time, however none of the players are located at the very same location. Therefore, this game is only about who drops out first. In fact, in every game, the number of players having to drop out to conclude the game is different. In the first round, which is called, well, it has no title, but we can call it the hold your hand over a burning candle and don't lose game, 3 players have to drop out before the game finishes, basically. And the remaining 17 players qualify automatically for round number 2. So this is really about tolerating pain, and as long as you can tolerate the pain, the more likely you will pass and enter the next round. The rules to this round are pretty vaguely defined. Firstly, there is no machinery fixating a player's hand above the candle. Our girl here goes from half an inch above it to 2 inches at will. Now, if that is possible, then moving your hand up and down, as silly as it may sound, is a pretty good strategy. Like that, you will cause the heat to dissipate across your palm and away from the candle, right? If you can, a generous spit at your hand before the game starts will probably help as well. It will act as a quasi-shield, keeping your skin safe from the rising heat. The thicker the spit, the better. I know that was gross, but, well, let's move on. Now, technically, you could also try to place your hand in a, specific angle that looks like it's right above the candle, yet it's more your fingers that are subjected to the heat. And since fingers have less surface area than your palm, there is therefore less heat that accumulates, making it easier to last longer. Now, in any way, this is a painful first round. Your best bet is that 3 other players drop out before you. If you can't control your mind and keep calm, there is no chance you will be able to tolerate the pain for a very long time. Now, with a lot of luck obviously, or willpower perhaps, our girl overcomes this first round and is heading towards round number 2. Round number 2 is pretty straightforward as well. We got 1 small wooden box containing something unknown, but presumably unpleasant, and 1 opening for each player to put their foot through. The first 3 players to remove their foot, again, lose, and all others will proceed to round number 3. Now, the fear of the unknown is a pretty present fear in every human being on this planet because, well, it's primal, right? However, having to hold your hand over an open flame for dozens of seconds is probably harder than this round, no? I mean, this is more of a mental game than the one before. The fact that we don't know what is inside this box is the tough part of this game. However, the following scene gives away more than they probably intended. Whatever that was, it was certainly no snake or spider unless we talk about a giant hunting spider. Now please don't Google this if you don't like spiders, I warned you, okay? It sounded more like something with claws. Depending on your fears, however, this could be a good thing or a bad thing. Personally, fearing spiders more than anything else, this would reassure me more than not. What would you do in this situation? Would this freak you out even more, or would you be okay with, well, it's something with claws, I guess. Let me know down in the comments. I'm curious what you're afraid of. Let me know. Now, before our player gets to bare her foot and step into the box, our referee touches his headset and claims that one player has already dropped out, meaning only 2 more players have to pull out before this game concludes as well. Now, this is odd. The game clearly hasn't started yet, at least not for our character. And if it has, then either the rules are enforced completely arbitrary, making it hard to believe that anyone could ever win, but it also begs the question if there are even any other players involved. Our character completely ignores that and proceeds as if nothing happened. She bares her foot, slowly enters the box, and well, this is what happens next. The conductor opens the trapdoor and connects the animal to the foot of our player. Her fear instantly spikes, of course. Now, there are 2 things that are important to consider here. First, the animal is very audible. It's absolutely clear that what's inside is a rat. The screeching is plain obvious. This alone diminishes this round completely in my eyes. As soon as you know what's inside, the tension drops significantly. My conclusion is the game devs of the odds suck. Vision is often thought to be the most potent sensory experience a human can have. And most of us know that. I mean, we all have experimented with eating stuff with eyes closed and then trying to guess what it was. And we all know how incredibly difficult this is. So the big fear factor in this round is the unknown, like we have mentioned before. But that's not all. What I haven't shown you yet is that the conductor himself has literally revealed that the rat is inside the box before this round has even started.
Are you afraid, friends?
He whispered it into her ear. And this, even if you thought would be a good thing to know, is really a bad thing. Because if the referee at will breaks the rules in favor of any player, even if that's you, it's impossible to predict the outcome of the complete game, even if you play perfectly along the rules. This is by far the last red flag to convince you to get the hell out of there. Not to say that you should have never agreed to a torture game in the first place, of course. There is simply no point in playing a game that has virtually no rules if the goal is to win. As the moments pass and the last 2 candidates drop out, the game concludes. Only 14 players are left and 4 rounds left to play. A small break occurs as well, and her foot is wrapped and taken care of.
I kissed your boo-boo.
Just shortly after that though, the conductor starts hitting heavily on her, making me cringe so much I, for a split second, considered changing my channel's name into Bingexpress. They literally start role-playing how they marry and take the $1 million and go to Paris or wherever. It's a little strange, to be honest. Look, I'm a big dreamer, okay, don't get me wrong. I sometimes waste hours fading into the endless space of imagination. But starting to build an imaginary life with a person that you have literally met just 10 minutes ago, who on top of that is a referee in a game in which you are tortured, is alarming. However, as we will surely see, the tone with which the referee talks to her shifts dramatically over the course of the next few rounds. Right now, he is the loving, gentle, kind soul that she ever wanted to aid her during her addiction. It's almost as if he purposely exploits her desires, and if that's the case, then, well, give this man a medal. It's dark and effed up, but oh boy, does he hit the sweet spots. His firing his verbal attacks as precise, one could mean he has inherited the Byakugan. Now the next round is the first one that I would deny playing. But that's just me, okay? Perhaps you, who is watching this video right now, thinks differently. Yeah, that looks pretty menacing, if you ask me. And since this is only round 3, the next games are likely to get worse, so thanks, but no thanks. Drilling long ass screws into my foot for $1 million? I don't know, man. Personally, I don't like prostituting my beliefs for money, but that's pretty enticing, not gonna lie. However, paired with the red flags that we have discussed before, there is no way that this is a good idea. In fact, the only reason for you to overlook all red flags we have mentioned so far is out of curiosity. But at least at this point, the conclusion should be obvious. It's peace out. I'm out of here, right? I mean, having 8 3-inch screws drilled into your foot is not something anyone could take. And even if someone could take it by staying conscious, which is highly doubtful, continuing playing other fun games afterwards for another hour or so is impossible, especially when painkillers aren't allowed. You will walk away with lasting injuries. No, that doesn't make any sense. You won't be walking away after that, but I guess you get the point. Additionally, there is no way to beat this round. This is a loss no matter how you look at it. The only chance is to position your foot in a way that the screws miss your bones and only penetrate soft tissue. But that's difficult, especially 8 times in a row. For $1 million, maybe you could try, but only to qualify for round 4, I don't think so. But because anything else would be boring, Our Lady endures the pain and continues playing. The screws are drilled into her foot one by one, causing more than likely severe complex fractures that will render her unable to walk for months to come. At least that's what would happen in real life. Now once all the screws are in, the game isn't over because now the screws must be removed again. And I can already tell you that drilling screws into bones and removing them is pretty similar. In fact, by drilling them in, especially with a home driller and non-surgical screws, you screw yourself up. Yet she acts relieved as if someone was releasing a stiff joint at the back of her neck. It doesn't make any sense. Now her foot is wrapped with a bandage and hey, just a moment later she is back to normal, engaging in normal conversations and prepares herself for round number 4. Which is simply ridiculous, no? I mean, unless she had popped a high dose of opioids and has received a generous IV dose of morphine on top of that, there is no way she could remain in any other state than screaming in pain. Well, she is secretly handed a painkiller, which of course breaks the rules of this whole game once again, and they continue with their strange conversations afterwards. However, this time the tone shifts dramatically. This time it goes from strangely cute and a little out there to full-blown toxic and psychopathic behavior. It's pretty insane. I mean, he goes from visiting Paris and gardening together to tell her that she is a and that she should go some in. This dude is pretty volatile, but what did we expect, no? I mean, this dude is a referee in games in which players torture themselves just inches away from him. Doesn't that tell us everything we need to know about this guy's personality? I think it does. But let's move on. Round number 4 is the most straightforward game so far, with an actual great cheat that will likely help you succeed. Now this game is, hold your breath. A filled aquarium is brought into the room and a bullet shell is handed to our player. Once the game starts, the referee will push her head underwater until she either drowns or gives up by dropping the bullet in her hand. The first 3 players who give up are out and the remaining players move up to round 5. The easier it is for you to hold your breath, the easier this round will be. Now the technique that I'm going to talk about is very dangerous and should not be tried at home, especially when not supervised. It's actually potentially lethal. Now the tactic is simply hyperventilation. You see, hyperventilation deprives your body of CO2, making your brain believe you have more oxygen available than you actually have. This delays the onset of the breathing reflex that we all know. You are now able to hold your breath much longer. However, the danger is that you don't actually have more oxygen available, it's just an illusion, so to speak. And since your brain requires a large amount of constant oxygen, you can and will lose your consciousness very suddenly without realizing it. Sort of like a light switch. And once you lose consciousness submerged in water, you will only have seconds left before the breathing reflexes kick in again. There's been cases where people have drowned in swimming pools by hyperventilating before and then just, try to hold your breath underwater. Anyway, our character surpasses this challenge and makes it to the second last round.
Jesus, why didn't you let go of the bullet?
I swallowed it.
Now at this point, things start to get even more disturbing. He starts asking her more out-of-place questions like how many partners did she have, when did she lose her virginity, etc. This dude is super weird. If I were her, I would have already left. In fact, all of this is so sketchy, I would have never participated in this in the first place. At one point, he slaps her across the face like the ex-wife of a Hollywood star would. But you see, our player here is stuck. She's facing the same problem like Elliot faced in 13 Sins. After having gone through so much pain and humiliation, would you really drop out now? You see, the problem with these games is, even though they gradually become more violent and degrading, the fact that you've already committed so many effed up things in previous rounds makes it more and more difficult to just give up. It's basically a vicious cycle trapping you in the first round. Well, at this stage, technically she still has a chance to drop out, right? Only the final round, as we know, is absolute. But as just explained, the chance for someone like her to drop out at this stage is virtually zero. Now the fifth round is, as the referee calls it, the Yakuza game. It's pretty straightforward as well. You just gotta chop off your fingertips, not with a thrown vodka bottle though, just with an old school knife in case you wonder. You gotta continue cutting off the tips until 3 players drop out and the final 5 players enter round 6. Unfortunately, there is no way around that. There is no way to beat that. So if you fancy playing Japanese Mafia for a few moments, you might enjoy this game. The only edge she has is the oxycodone he has handed her in a previous scene. That's a pretty potent opioid and would definitely help to some extent. Yet she defyingly smashes the pill onto the table as if to say, I don't need that crap. Well, that's pretty stupid, I can already tell you that. Now there are a few peculiar things here that we have pointed out, right? The rules seem arbitrary, the referee is a psychopath, we have no proof of anyone else but us participating, and the 2 webcams streaming us to the people betting on us are cordless. Now look, there are cordless webcams out there, but there isn't a single piece of receiver inside this room to which the signal could go. Honestly, if she paid just a little attention and practiced just a tiny bit more skepticism, she would have figured out that this dude is probably full of and that there probably isn't any money to be won. I mean, she hasn't even seen the money so far, has she? At least have 150k or so wired to your bank account after every game, just like in 13 Sins. And if you drop out before you win, the money should just disappear. But that's not all. Because after this 5th round, she goes to the bathroom for a quick break. Can you imagine walking any distance with the foot injury she had endured 25 minutes ago? There is no chance she could put any weight on this side without literally collapsing and throwing up. But anyway, let's move up to the final round, which is called the odds. It's basically a Russian roulette paired with last man standing, or woman in this case. A gun with 5 chambers is loaded with 1 bullet. All players need to pull a trigger at the same time, and whoever survives makes it to the next round. This is repeated over and over again until one remains, or nobody, if in fact bad luck strikes multiple players at once. Now if this is a legit game, then the odds are undoubtedly in your favor. You have an 80% chance of survival every round, and that's pretty significant. In the first round, 1 is killed and 4 players remain. During the second round, another player is wiped out, decreasing the number of players to 3. Looks pretty good until it's revealed that nobody is killed during round 3. And this repeats itself countless times, over and over and over again. Now our player seems to be a very trigger happy woman. This girl ferociously pulls the trigger, barely breaking a sweat. All she sees is $1 million. It doesn't take long until 1 more bullet is added, increasing her chance of dying by another 20%. But eventually 1 more is killed, at least that's what's claimed, reducing the player count to 2, including her. But then the strange thing happens that we all expected, right? The psychopathic referee suddenly tells her, what if there are no other players? What if everything so far has been staged and in reality there is no one watching, there is no one playing, it's just her and him all along. In fact, everything she knows about this game, and us too, is what was told by him. And looking at his behavior of the past hour, it is clear that this guy is the last one you would want to trust.
What if you're the only one playing the game?
At this stage, she finally starts understanding what's been going on, at least that's what she thinks. But even now, he's changing up his stories by the second. One moment he says that what if she has already won, or what if there has never been a game to begin with, or what if the bullets are fake and a shot can't even be triggered. He goes ballistic with the stories, confusing her even more, and it works. She literally agrees to keep on playing, which is nuts. She has no idea anymore what to believe, and in preparation for another round, the bullets are increased one more time, giving her the worst odds so far. But on another note, this guy isn't the brightest, is he? I mean, revealing all of that to her while at the same time handing her a loaded gun, that's either arrogant or stupid. Or was it not? No, it clearly was. Even though she's confused, she finally stops trusting this man's words and understands that this game can't be won, and turns the table. At this distance and having 3 shots available, it is impossible for her to miss. So she takes a shot. Well, I take that back. Goodness gracious, 3 shots and she missed all of them? Alright, well, he escapes but drops his own gun in the process. She's able to retrieve it and shoots one of the goons at the door and goes into hiding. She then fakes her death and kills the other one just before she is attacked by the conductor. The odds are once again not in her favor, but as we know, this woman is pretty lucky. In the last second, she grabs a jar containing her fingertips and smashes it at his head. The shard slit his throat and she's the last one standing. Now, still not having given up her hope, she slowly walks over to the headset lying on the floor, picks it up and checks if this was really all just fake or not.
You win.
Well, surprise, surprise. How much money does it take to convince you to play such a game? Do you have a price? Let me know down below. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It was a great movie to watch, actually. Low budget, but I think they pulled it off pretty well. Thank you so much for watching. Drop us a like if you want to support us, and I see you again next week. Peace out, take care, and binge another one.